Hello everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to season 7. We've had a nice little hiatus. It's been a nice little break. I've had my birthday. I've been on holiday. I went to, for everyone who knows me, I went to Disneyland Paris, got this mug. So it's going to be my new feature in the office. Happy June 1st. Glad to be back on the airways. But Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm fantastic. So I guess I should introduce myself. Is that where we're going?
Yeah, we can jump
Okay.
into introductions. Let's go for it. Let's hear your 1 minute origin story.
Uh that's 1 minute. I don't know if I have all of that. So I'm a senior TAM, been at AWS for 3.5 years now. It's amazing. It doesn't seem like that. Based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Philly. Um, and my focus area is in cloud financial management, cloud ops. I support customers in the digital native business space. And an extra focus on cost intelligence dashboards. And I'm one of the moderators, one of the hosts on another show on this channel, the AWS Supports You channel. So you may have seen me before in other places.
Now, we love our other shows. He's okay coming on here. There's no drama. It's all fine. But yeah, and I love that you already mentioned the dashboards. It's kind of a running game of how soon we mention those dashboards coming in. So always good to mention our friendly dashboards.
It's on the bingo card.
Yeah, exactly. If we had a drinking game, it would be like most of it. Drink sensibly. Just before we kick off with today's awesome talk, all about how to find unactive resources, just a couple of shout outs. If anybody watching is going to the London Summit, I will be there. Come to my talk, COP 203, how to implement a cost strategy that works. Or if you see me, come say hi. I will be milling around the CFM Ask the Architect booth. I'm running that section there. So come ask a question, come have a chat. I'll have stickers. So if you're a fan, come and grab a sticker because we love the swag. And generally, welcome back to season 7. This season, we're going heavy on the optimization, taking our show name very seriously, looking at how to optimize a range of different services, so many different ones coming in, some that you might not expect. So one thing to do is make sure you check out our landing page to subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe in general. Okay, enough with the housekeeping. Let's get into some optimization. So you actually came to me with this talk idea. Do you want to tell everyone kind of where it came from?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. And being in the optimization space, a lot of financial management work with my customers and stuff. There was a AWS repost article, knowledge article on how to identify resources or unused resources in your account. And that really kind of piqued my interest. It's one of the most, it was one of the most frequently accessed articles that we had last year. With those statistics. So I started to dive into that and I was like, hey, this is something really interesting and I want to bring it forward. And I thought this show was a perfect place to do that in.
Great. Yeah, check out that one for kind of follow-ups I put on the screen. But yeah, we're going to go through a bunch of different ones. But the first thing we wanted to touch on was something that came up that when we had our little chat beforehand was something that you mentioned that I didn't even know about. So we're going to do a bit of a demo, but do you want to just explain what we're going to talk about before we go into the demo?
Absolutely. Yeah. As I started to dive into that article and that topic, I came across this. This was something I didn't know about it. It's a feature of Systems Manager, AWS Systems Manager. In there, they have a tool called Application Manager. What it allows you to do is take an application, a workload, or a collection of applications and workloads, and have a single place where you can view all kinds of information about that workload in one place. One of the cool parts about it as well is it's free. Like you don't have to be using Systems Manager or other things. It helps because there's integration points there. But this was something that I didn't know about, and I know, with my customers as well as the cost optimization and wanting to be able to focus on those things, I'm like, this thing is cool. So I started diving into it, and we started chatting about it. And we're like, all right, let's talk about this. Let's demo
Yeah,
this.
let's go for it. So anyone in the chat, as always, feel free to comment, ask questions around anything with CFM, and we'll do our best to answer them. And just let us know, yes or no, in the chat, are you already using Systems Manager while we bring up this demo? So, okay, right, let's go for it.
All right, so jumping in, you can head over to Systems Manager, and hopefully I still stayed logged in. I did. If you come down here, you've got Application Management, and you can see Application Manager here. So if you click into this, once it comes up, there's a number of different things, and I haven't gotten through everything in here. And in fact, I just noticed something earlier this morning when I was checking this out before we went live here. You're able to have applications defined in a number of ways. One is through CloudFormation stacks. So if you have CloudFormation stacks deployed, it can see them in here, and that can be used to view that. You can do custom applications. So if you do and tag your applications, you can use resource groups, create resource groups with those tags, and those custom applications will appear here. So if you have a kind of a tagging method or some specific things that you want to look at, there's launch wizard applications, and then there's also app registry. So if you do and have used app registry, in my case here, I've got instance scheduler deployed, and that appears here in this list of items. What you can do, and I'll focus in here on the application tags, application name. Excuse me. What I've got is everything that I've got tagged with an application name. I kept it kind of generic, and these workloads aren't necessarily related and an actual real thing. You come in, you've got a series of tabs. You can see here in overview, if you've got alarms configured in CloudWatch for any of those resources that this falls into, you'll be able to see a summary of the alarms. You've got a cost view. I've got some stuff broken here right now, of course, because I'm wanting to demo it, where you can see the cost. And as you come down, you can see the compliance status, any of the rules, anything that applies to the resources in this workload. You can see that status here. If you've done any run books or ops items. So you have this nice summary overview in here, and then you can dive deep into, here's the resources. I want to see the resources. I can search for them and find different resources, whatever I'm looking for in here. I can then see specific instances, and it'll give me information on the instance states, health checks, statuses, that kind of thing. All of my grand 2 instances in this case running here, any last executions, kind of a nice summary. And again, it's all for this. It's nice. It's because if you're working on an application team or a workload, you don't really care about everything else. You don't want to go to CloudWatch and have to sort through all these alarms or go through all the statuses in EC2 instances. So you can come in here and see just the things that are relevant to your application, which is usually that kind of single pane of glass type of thing that you talk about, and teams really want to be able to look at. And then you can get into more details. Here's the compliance details. If you have patch policies, things that are applied, you'll see them here, all related to those instances. And again, with monitoring, you can see monitoring if there's application alarms, anything in place that you put in here. I think this is one of the ones. Yeah, so I just created a new CloudWatch alarm against one of my instances this morning, and it appears here in that list. So I can see that. Very simple, very easy to kind of get this up and running. The other thing I like is logs. I hate trolling through logs of different things when I'm looking for stuff. It all puts it right. It puts it all right here for you. So, and this is, again, you set up a new application with the tags. There you go. If you have CloudFormation stacks and other things that you see here, in this case, application, I have some other groupings defined, and it's able to see those with the CloudFormation stack. So I can even go deeper within an application deployment to see the details and stuff here.
Cool.
And then
Can I ask a quick question? Yeah. In the just actually, if you want to do the cost one first, then I can.
Yeah.
Then I'll do
and of course, it comes down to cost, right? There's always cost. So you can see this again. I've got some errors here, but you can look by service, by tags, filter on the services, look at the timeframes, and again, you're looking at it. You also see if with the optimization, it's going to tell you, hey, we've got recommendations for optimization within just the things that you care about, which is also cool. But you have a question. What's the...
Yeah, no, a couple of things. So first of all, someone's saying they're checking it out now. They're a bit new, but hopefully if you're either checking out the show, welcome, or if you're checking out Application Manager, let us know how it goes in the comments. So one thing I wanted to ask was, in the resources, there was compliance. Was that based on config? Or
yes.
is there something else?
Yeah. That's based on config and any config rules that you have and that are set up. And awesome. I have a bunch that are just kind of, I've deployed a number of the out of the box ones, and I think I might have some custom ones floating around in this account too. So
one thing I was going to say is, going back to our title of kind of how to find the active resources you don't need, a great thing in config, and people don't always talk about config with optimization, and I think it's like something that we should push more for, is this idea that you can set up those config rules to identify some idle resources like EBS, elastic IPs, and stuff like that. So the fact that this is in here is great. If anybody's using config for a lot of their cost optimization, let me know, because I feel like it's an interesting subject. So cost optimization at amazon.com, let me know. The other thing I was going to say was, this seems great, and correct me if I'm wrong, especially for accounts where there's shared services, or if you're quite a small organization, and that happens a lot, and you've got a lot of different workloads in the same place, and you want to look at yours. And I love the way you're kind of like mentioning that it is for the ones that are tagged with your tag. And I think this is a really good one to shout out, especially if you're like, okay, what have I got going on in my setup? Not everybody's setup, my setup.
And I'm big on tagging. Anytime I get to talk about, after cloud intelligence dashboards, I talk about tagging. That's probably the next big thing that I talk about. It's such a small thing, and it can get pushed to the side, but it's super important, especially if you've got an account with lots of workloads. And I've worked with small customers. Again, they may have a lot of things in one account, or really large customers that have a lot of shared services, shared infrastructure that different teams need to manage within an account. And this is another way to kind of keep eyes on that. And for the optimization, you can also, if you're looking at the resources, you can go, wait a second, why are these resources in my workload? This has nothing to do with me. So it's another way for teams to be able to actively monitor and make sure, is everything that I'm supposed to have here versus, and is there stuff in here that shouldn't be mine? I shouldn't be owning this. Let's get this addressed. Yeah.
So definitely just a call to action, guys, is to go enable this. It's free. And maybe see if there's anything that you can, like Stephen says, jumps out, especially if there's a tag you're already using. Maybe just check what resources you've actually got, and see if there's anything saying, oh, hang on, is this my resource, or I'm missing a resource? This might be a way for you guys to identify any missing tags and things like that.
Right. And I think this should be the one. Here you can see the costs coming up in here, so you can see it by month, and then you can obviously jump over to the cost tab and see more, though I think that might be broken for me too here. Yeah, it is. Of course it is. So normally, yes, you would see all of that information in detail there, and you can drill into that more.
So on the cost one, whatever's normally there, guys, bear with us, pretend it's there. What kind of thing does it show you? Is it kind of like a cost explorer view?
Yes, it is like a cost explorer view. It's a more simplified version. So if you want to jump into even more detail, you probably have to jump over to cost explorer. You can't drive everything necessarily. This is more to kind of give you, hey, I want to look at daily costs, monthly costs, last 7 days, or maybe I see something anomalous, so let me look at by a specific tag or a specific service to kind of drill in right here. You can do bar charts, line charts, that kind of thing. So I think it's enough for a team to manage, and then if they have more questions, go to a tool then with more detail like Cost Explorer or the Cost Intelligence dashboards to get into it more deeply. This is kind of operationally, if I'm in here every day, I'm looking, or teams are looking, doing work, this is where I'd want to go and be able to just easily focus on the things I care about.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of hitting the nail on the head. So if you're out there and you are a developer, or you are managing a kind of application, and you have your weekly sprints or like Scrum sessions, or you have your kind of catch-ups and you need to review, this is a really simple way of jumping to like rather than jumping all over the place, which I feel like is such a blocker for so many people, is when they're having to go like, oh, log in here, check I have this access. It's all over different places. If you have one account but with multiple workloads and you want to centralize it, application manager will do it.
Absolutely. And what's nice too for operational teams, if you've got lots of different applications and workloads that you've got to manage, somebody has a ticket in on a problem, I can go here and easily understand what do I need to look at? Where might I want to go next?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And we've had a question. So how does systems manager, application manager, we do love a long title.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. Integrate with AWS Service Catalog App Registry. Do you know this?
Other than seeing it here today, I don't know. I think we might have that covered in the documentation for application manager in there. That's the piece, that's this part of it I haven't looked into yet, so I don't have more detail about that. With the custom applications, I know what you have to do. There is a tag if it's not enabled on something. You can, I don't have any monitor set up for this one. If it's not configured, and I might be able to see it here in the CloudFormation stacks, there is a specific tag key you enable when you're deploying something for CloudFormation, or when you're tagging resources, you tag it with that key. It doesn't have to have a value, but it does have to have that key name. And that's how application manager kind of knows about this stuff. So probably something similar to that for app registry, or knowing that it already just hooks. For me, I didn't do anything. It just I deployed Instant Scheduler. It registered itself. So it likely just integrates and will show you anything that's in app registry.
Cool. So the short answer, it integrates, but we're not sure the exact.
Exactly.
Yeah, check out the documentation. And like I said before, if you want to know more, then drop us an email and we'll find someone at AWS who can help you. Awesome. Okay. Anything else you want to showcase with the application manager?
I think that's it, unless anybody has any more questions about it that I may not be able to answer.
Someone else has answered. Again, I'm not sure if we'll be able to help. Have you gone over the container cluster portion yet?
I have not. And I don't have any clusters deployed in this account, so I don't know how or what that would appear there. So I again, if you go in, there's a lot of things in Application Manager. Like if you look at this, CloudFormation stacks, app registry applications, launch widget, it's probably going to appear there for you. And I would think that it's the same thing here. If you have clusters in your account, you might need to do a tag or configuration to light it up in here, but definitely give it a shot, try it out, see what it looks like. It wasn't hard for me. I found this and I was like, this is really cool. And I just started playing around with it. And I was like, wow, this is
this wasn't the initial intent of the episode.
Yeah, so exactly.
So I think what we're going to do then is, I am inspired. I'm going to definitely go try this, but I also think we'll try and either we'll have a go at diving in deeper, or we'll pull in someone maybe from the application manager team and see if they can come give us some extra details. So if you would like that, comment on the YouTube video, and we'll make sure that we'll kind of announce that when that's happening. Do you know if it integrates with an organization? I would assume it's per account, but I don't know if you know.
Correct. Right now, this is per account. So that's so if you're in an account, you have to go to different accounts in order to see those different workloads today.
But as we know, guys, we love to listen. So make sure to raise a product feature request in your account if you would like it to be multi-account, and AWS will probably try and add it to the roadmap as we go forward. But thank you so much for the questions. This is great chat, which we will continue into kind of going back to how do I check for resources I no longer need, the main bulk of the title. So, I mean, we're going to try and so guys, in the comments, give us a rough time as we're kind of chatting. How much time do you spend looking for resources you don't need per week? Is it an hour? Is it 3 days? Like, if you have any kind of time frames, drop us that in the comments. And as people are doing that, where do you start when you talk to customers, Stephen, about kind of finding those idle resources?
So for me, there's a couple areas. One of the areas, and I want to touch on this briefly, is in EC2. We have things like on-demand capacity reservations, another nice long name that we have, or ODCR. I like to call it for the short name. So in here, you have capacity reservations. And for those that may not know, what you're able to do is put an on-demand capacity reservation in place for a specific set of instances and resources that you might have. And I can show that in this screen. If you pull those up, as soon as you make that reservation, whether you're running those resources or not, you're being charged for those resources. So what you want to be able to do is understand, hey, if I make these reservations, one, are they being utilized? And if they're no longer needed or not being fully utilized, I want to be able to come in and make adjustments there, right? And that's something that people have been called out with. I worked with a customer recently who had some of that. That's something that I spotted as working with them and made them aware, hey, you have this, it's not being fully utilized. So we do have, if you go into EC2, capacity reservations, you can see any reservations that you've made. And in addition to that, if we go into CloudWatch, we do have metrics that allow you to monitor for that. So we have usage metrics around EC2 capacity reservations that you want to build alarms on and look for to make sure if your utilization of that capacity goes down by a certain amount. And as I can see here, I've got this alarm set up for capacity reservations that's telling me, hey, you're not fully utilizing these reservations, which means you could be saving some money. So you want to go in and make sure that you have this configured with these metrics so that you can set alarms and make teams aware that if they're doing this specific thing, it's an easy way to kind of come in, identify resources that are actually not being utilized and clean them up.
Nice. I didn't know that you could do a CloudWatch for capacity, so that's a great way. And then when you have those alarms, they can go into Application Manager.
Yes, and you can have it go right to the teams that need to take that action and make sure they're on top of that. One of the other areas we hadn't talked about, but I wanted to touch on briefly because I realized I think this is another unsung feature that we have.
Unsung?
Again, unsung. That's the word. Feature that we have, Resource Explorer. I think it was launched earlier this year. And again, another free service that allows you to index and look at all of your resources across accounts. And this is a good way. Again, you can search by tags, you can search by types, create different views to be able to look for resources and understand and see things that are out there. If you're looking for, maybe there's a project that was running that's no longer running, you want to look for those resources and see that they're not running anymore and clean them up. But then a lot of it's going to come back down to Trusted Advisor. Going into Trusted Advisor, that really is one of the best ways to look for these resources. If you come in here, you can see I've got a number of resources and some of the key areas to look at. Low utilization of EC2 instances, Amazon RDS idle database instances, things that, and I thought I had one on here. One of the other areas to look at as well is if you have application load balancers or elastic load balancers, if they don't have anything behind them or they're not being utilized, that's also going to come up and show you here in this that you can pull this up. And if you want to get a broader, you can come into each account for this. You can get alarms and alerts based on these findings to make you aware that you're running. You can also go in here and regularly take a look at these resources to identify, hey, this is what's running. I need to go take a look at this and I need to take it down. I know it's something I think that a lot of customers struggle with looking at on a regular basis or remembering that they can use this and leverage this. So I think while it's something that's there, it's something I think important to talk about and to remind customers about, that you can use this. It provides really useful information. Sometimes the idleness is based on business usage and there's some impacts, and some teams will go, hey, we really, really need this thing. But you go, hey, it's not being used. Are you sure you really need it? And I can show you it's not being used. So you can have some of those discussions and get those resources here as well.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about alarms. Someone asked, Do we have notification alarms for RIs or savings plans for certain utilization? And simple 818 said yes, budget alarms will kind of cover that. So
yes,
that's always a good thing to add. But yeah, trusted advisor, I feel like we haven't chatted about it super recently. One thing to mention, as always, we talked about the dashboards earlier, the cloud intelligence dashboards. A great thing, the fact with that linked in with the optimization data collected data lake, means that we grab this report from all of the linked accounts, put it into one place. And also, my favorite thing about that is Trusted Advisor is great, but once you fix the problem, it goes to green. So there's no history, which sometimes is, if you're trying to prove that you did some work, sometimes quite challenging. And so kind of keeping logs of that data automatically will mean that you can see how you improve over time. And especially if you are out there starting out optimization, or we're definitely looking kind of more engineering today. If you are one of thinking, well, I want to give it a go, kind of maybe finding some optimization. What can I do to help my company make it a bit greener, make it a bit more successful? Well, starting in here and having a look, maybe picking some of that low-hanging fruit of idle resources can just kind of help you tidy things up a bit and maybe save a bit of cash. And what I would also recommend is, if you are doing this, please make sure that you check why that resource has become no longer needed. I think that's, and Stephen, maybe to ask you for that, if there are any ways, like any good stories, I've just put you on the spot for this, but I'll do mine first to give you time to think of the same kind of thing. Like, I had a customer who had loads of unattached DBS volumes, and they kind of were doing to do a cleanup. And then we realized it was actually like proportionally to the organization, you would have assumed there were like 10 per account, but it was all of them in one account. And there was some kind of bug that was, I think it was deleting EC2s, but then unattaching and keeping the EBS for some reason. I think that was the story. And so it meant they were just like leaving all these EBS volumes, and it was all the same tag, all the same account ID. And it was just like constantly growing. So even if they'd done like a big delete and clean up, the next month they would have been there. So yeah, make sure you figure out the root cause. But yeah, I don't know if you have any stories like that.
I do. Mine's around Redshift instances. There were some development teams that, and I went in and saw, hey, there's idle Redshift instances here. And I pointed that out, and they were like, oh yeah, that shouldn't be there. It shouldn't, that should have been cleaned up by that team. So it does make really useful recommendations. I've had similar stories with other customers as well, with like EBS volumes and snapshots. Like, they didn't realize exactly how much that had grown and how aged some of the snapshots were. And they're like, yeah, we don't need any of that stuff around. Why is that still there? Let's get that cleaned up. Mm-hmm. Which then leads into a conversation about backup, right? And putting things on a backup schedule and having it maintain it for you, so you don't have that unattended growth. Yeah.
When in doubt, automate. That doesn't roll off the tongue. I should come up with a better way. When in doubt, make it rhyme. Someone's asked as well, I just mentioned this, so I'm going to call out. I also misread this and read it as Mrs. Tone, but it's Mr. Stone 78. I assume by the picture. So TA is great, but I'd really like to see more checks and more services covered. Let me know what that is, or raise it as I said, a product feature request, because they have added a bunch. Like there's way more than when I first. I think there were like 5 when I first started, and now there's 15. So yeah, we do listen to the kind of thing. So let us know what you would like to hear.
They keep adding them. It's integrated with Security Hub as well, and those findings. You're starting to see more of that. So I'm sure you'll see more. But if there's one that's missing, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, 2 minutes left. Anything else you want to throw out there before we finish?
If you're looking to get more into Trusted Advisor, check out the Trusted Advisor organizational dashboards. We did a show on it the other week, and I think you can drop the link in the chat to that show in there as well. But yeah, definitely check that out. And Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern, we have my other show, AWS Supports You. And I think we're going to be talking about fault injection simulator and chaos engineering.
Ooh. There is the link to the video, just so that people have it. And as always, all the links will be on YouTube, so you can click on them. But yeah, check out AWS Supports You. Check out all of the amazing shows that AWS has. And thank you so much, Stephen, for coming on and chatting to us about all these different things. Next week, we will be doing, finally, the session The Others, which is a session me and Yuri's been on the show a bunch of times, did it reInvent last year, and we've been meaning to do a live recording since December last year. It's finally happening 6 months later. So don't miss it. Come check us out next week. And we will see you then. Have a good rest of your
Awesome.
week.
Thank you.